Alright, so when I originally wrote this script, the day before was still crumbling, but since then it has imploded in spectacular fashion, or fantastic fashion, which led to the closure of the developer FNTASTIC, the announcement of the servers for the game going offline on January 22nd, and Steam straight up refunding everyone who purchased the game, going from a high refund rate to a 100% refund rate. The game is done. However, a void remains. We were promised an open world survival MMO, and the day before ended up being an extraction shooter. After that whole media storm surrounding the day before's release, I kept seeing Twitter posts recommending a game called Once Human. I've seen the name pop up a few times since then and discovered the developers were actively running a beta of the game, so this was the perfect opportunity to jump in and see what the game was all about. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into Once Human. Now that we've all got the day before out of our systems, let's talk about the game that actually delivers on what they promised. An open world survival MMO that allows for base building, crafting, and a general good time. Let's start from the beginning. What is Once Human? Like I alluded to at the top of the video, it's an open world survival game primarily built around co-op elements that presents you with a vast map to explore, enemies to kill, resources to gather, and a robust base building system that is easy to use and understand. As far as the tone goes, it's a mesh of genres, ranging from post-apocalyptic, survival horror, and Lovecraftian. Add in some real survival gameplay mechanics, base building, and an engaging gameplay loop, you've got Once Human. Let's kick things off with the gameplay. The combat actually feels good for what the game is. Nothing too fast, shooting feels decent, and ammo is scarce out in the world. Your character is also something called a metahuman, so it's conveyed that you have some kind of power, but the most I've really seen of that is charging up your firearm and being able to levitate items like some combat-specific items to use against enemies and picking up items from a distance. You can vault and clamber in this game unlike some other game we know about, so it allows for movement across the world to be somewhat more enjoyable. There is also the ability to remain undetected, which allows you to sneak around enemies if you're not really wanting to get into a fight, as well as methodically taking out your enemies quietly and quickly. This is a nice addition since you may not always be topped off on ammo or have good gear, so allowing you to have the option to stealth your way through an area is very cool. As I mentioned, Once Human is an open world survival game, and while I wouldn't really call it an MMO, there are a healthy amount of players on each server. In my playtime so far, I've run into other players while out in the world, but it was usually at boss encounter areas. As PvP isn't enabled in most of the world, all of the people I ran into so far have been friendly. Hello. Even helping me out was dispatching some enemies when they pass by. From what I understand, there is PvP in Once Human, but I haven't been able to engage with that yet as it seems to be at designated areas, and I haven't made it out that way yet. Something to look into, I guess. Now, I did want to mention the audio in this game. It's actually pretty good, and while it doesn't play a major role into the gameplay outside of the annoying sound that plays when you're low on health, it does help to set the ambiance of the world. For example, I set up my territory next to a road, but I didn't realize that a big enemy patrols that road at night, so sometimes when I'm crafting in my house, I hear their loud stomps as a reminder that I'm not really safe. Outside of that, the voice acting in this game is pretty hit or miss. A couple of examples of the misses would be some lines sounding rushed or the tone of some of the voices not matching the tone of the world.
If someone around here sets out to go anywhere, they just run out of whatever they have. Gas, electricity, you name it. So they end up stuck here.
Stop right there! Who are you? Where are you from?
I'm honestly surprised there weren't any retakes for some of these lines. There's even times when the voice acting bugs out and just doesn't play during conversations. If they could fix that, at least prior to launch, the experience will be much better. The survival mechanics. Let's talk about that next. There are systems in this game that will be pretty familiar to the survival game enjoyer, like hunger and hydration. How they affect you isn't that hardcore, but there's still things you'll want to keep tabs on. Hydration affects your ability to sprint, and hunger, from what I've seen, affects your maximum health. However, there is another system in place you'll have to keep tabs on: sanity. Different things out in the world can affect your sanity, like being near a great one, which is like an area boss, or even some food and drink can affect your sanity, both positively and negatively. What sanity does is block out how far you'll be able to heal yourself. For example, if you lost 20% of your sanity, then the top 20% of your health is blocked, only being able to heal yourself up to 80%. The sanity mechanic can be pretty annoying, but I figure once you learn how to make food and drink that can recover your sanity, it becomes less of an issue. However, in the early game, it's a problem. At least it was for me. I had to take on a great one with at least 50% of my sanity gone, which was kind of a pain. On a stream I did recently, I ran through the beginning of the game again, and did even worse somehow, having less sanity at the first boss encounter, if you could believe it. Now, I want to get into the part that I spent most of my time with so far, resource gathering and base building. In Once Human, you're able to make a house, and your only limitations are if you're encroaching on another player's territory, the landscape, and being too close to strongholds or on roads. Outside of that, you can set up shop wherever you want. You can even build your house however you want as well. As you can see here, I made my house kind of blocky, but my neighbor decided to make a mansion. What a show off. What's cool about the territory house system is that you can move it to another area should you wish to do so. This keeps your house that you've built intact, so you don't have to rebuild everything from scratch again. And keep in mind that your territory requires upkeep in the form of resources, which you deposit into a little node. It has a daily upkeep requirement to make sure your house and stations don't decay, so you want to stay on top of resource gathering. Speaking of, let's get into that next. In the world, you can find items that you can recycle into usable material, but you can also collect raw resources like wood, copper, tin, sulfur, etc. These resources are located within specific nodes which you can see around the world. They'll respawn over time, so it's not like there's a finite amount of resources. But first, we get more material. It's a beta, guys. Relax. Using these resources, you can turn into usable items like copper and bronze ingots, charcoal, etc. and then use them as you see fit. Need to make more rounds for your weapons, new gathering tools, maybe even craft a new weapon, new armor, repair the things you have now, whatever you need, you could use your resources to accomplish it. While this game is incredibly fun, it's still in beta, so they have a few things to work out. I've run into a few bugs during my time with the game so far, so it's not perfect, but they're fixable. One bug had certain terrain with no collision, so I ended up falling through the world. Thankfully, there's a get unstuck button in the menu, so you're never really doomed if you run into that. And as I mentioned before, sometimes spoken dialogue with NPCs just won't play, so you have two characters awkwardly pantomiming towards each other with no spoken dialogue. Another one, and my personal favorite, was engaging with an NPC to complete a quest, having the dialogue play out, but hearing a pack of wolves around us attacking me. I was fine in the scene, but once I got out of it, I immediately got knocked.
And I promise, I'll be back to support you.
They definitely have some things to work out, but despite that, I'm having a ton of fun with it. While they're technically running an open beta right now, they did end up closing new signups due to how popular the game ended up being, especially after the whole debacle with the day before. However, how they're handling it now is less than efficient. On their Discord server, the moderators are posting beta keys, and it's first come first served on the keys. Originally, I was under the impression they were going to be handing out access through their surveys with the associated email used to take those surveys, but seems they nixed that idea in favor for dropping keys in the Discord. It's not the best system, and I wish they would have used a less cutthroat system for distributing keys. In any case, I still recommend visiting the website to get a better idea of what the game is about. Once Human is definitely the game the day before wishes it was. This is the perfect storm for Starry Studio. The best part of this is that they made a game that was actually fun. While they definitely have some bugs to work out, on its own merit, Once Human is a fun and engaging survival game that I want to keep playing. So much so, I'm not looking forward to the day when the beta is over. This is a game that I urge you to keep on your radar if you're a survival game fan. You won't want to miss out on this because I'm certain it'll blow up once more people catch wind of it. And with the coverage it's been getting on YouTube, it's almost inevitable. I'm looking forward to the full release of Once Human, and you should too. And that's about all I had for this one. Thanks for watching. Have you had a chance to play Once Human? If so, are you enjoying it? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons as I'm looking to grow the channel, and any help I can get will be greatly appreciated. With that being said, stay hydrated, I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.